This is Happy Monkey.
This is Happy Monkey.
Happy Monkey. Happy Monkey.
This is Happy Monkey.
Hello, no one is available to take your call. Please leave a message after the tone.
Hey, Happy Monkey family. I'm just stopping by, showing lots of love from wherever I am, the side of the couch right now. I hope you are all safe, staying strong during these times, and most of all, staying high. You know, we could do that indoors, outdoors, get creative in your space. Please get creative in your minds. Please, this is your time to get closer with your friends, families, with yourselves, and, much love.
All right, everybody, what's going on today in the Happy Monkey Podcast? Hope everybody is well. Hope everybody is high. Today, we got a special guest, female strong entrepreneur from the 6, talking to us today, everybody. You want to add to this introduction,
Yes,
young man?
yes. This young lady is definitely the epitome of young entrepreneur. She was on Forbes 30 under 30.
Woo!
She is making waves on both sides of the border and just happens to be of Latin descent like ourselves.
Ooh.
Our sister from another mother from the 6, Antuanette Gomez.
Yes, everybody.
Yes.
Please reintroduce yourselves to everybody where they can find you, your Instagram, anything that you want to plug in. Now's the time.
Of course. What an amazing, welcoming greeting to me. And I'm so happy to be here. I'm Antuanette Gomez, the CEO of Pleasure Peaks. We run a women's sexual health cannabis company. And I'm really excited to be here. And you can find me on Instagram at Antuanette G. I'm Peruvian, like you mentioned. So we spell Antuanette, our little Latin way, which is Antuanette, and you can find me at my website, Antuanette Gomez, with all of my links, with my LinkedIn, my Twitter, my Instagrams, whatever. Just go to AntuanetteGomez.com. That's ANTUANETTE.
Yes. Spicy. We got the Latina, cannabis, and sex going on. It's super spicy.
Oh, yeah. We
That's
got
it.
all of that for you.
That sounds like a deadly combination there. But how's quarantine treating you, and how are you staying medicated to keep your mental health intact during these crazy times, Antoinette?
Oh, my goodness. Quarantine hit me like a bag of bricks. I was like, my suitcase is back. Let's go to Washington. I got to go to Hawaii next week. Let's get this. I just got back from Peru from a wedding. And, it all happened so quickly for me because, yes, I was seeing that Corona's a thing. Okay, cool. Anyways, And then one day our border just closed and Justin Trudeau was not having it. He was like, get the hell home, come home right now. So ever since, I had to put a lot of my work on hold. We do Pleasure Island retreats at Pleasure Peaks, where we basically create an amazing hedonism pleasure dome in Hawaii, which we were supposed to do. So that has been postponed, unfortunately. And I'm supposed to be in Washington because, of course, we're supposed to be celebrating 420 there. And I do get a lot of the conferences on sexual health. So it's been a huge burden. But, everything comes with balance. So what I've been finding is that I've been getting so much work online. I actually spoke at a virtual 420 conference. Can you believe that?
Nice.
And I had hundreds of people at my panel, and it was so nice to connect with people. I haven't spoken to that many people in a really long time. So it's been great to get back with the cannabis community in a way more intimate way. And I find that I'm doing that by, staying medicated and being online. I'm a bong girl, hella for sure.
Bong rips?
Bong over joints?
Oh hell yeah, any day.
Oh man, I'm more like
but
blunts
I am
over bongs.
I'm also blunts over joints. You know,
Okay, there you
Yeah,
go.
I'm definitely a blunt guy. I like, I'm blunted by the way I speak, and I'm blunted by what I smoke. So blunts
there's
hooray.
nothing that hits like a blunt. You know, it's just such an amazing full body experience. It's really a treat. You know, have you guys tried the blunt woods that are going around lately?
Blunt
The
woods.
organic
Woods.
blunt woods. There's
No,
always a
I
new
heard of
woods.
Oh, right. That's why I'm like Bluntwood. Tell me, but
Enlighten us.
Yeah, I would love to grab them for you. We have them going around in Canada. My girlfriend sells them at Lotus, which is like an online dispensary here.
Nice.
And blunts are like huge here in Canada, but we like our backwoods, rather than like
That's what
the
I was gonna
swishers. I
ask.
guess that is more.
So how's the dispensary thing going on over there? Is there like dispensaries in every corner or no?
So when it comes to the dispensaries, what's super funny about quarantine is that what ended up happening was like everything shut down. If you're not an essential service, you need to shut down. So we allowed our hospitals, our grocery stores open, but then we closed our cannabis stores.
So it
Within
wasn't deemed
24
essential?
hours, within 24 hours, they noticed that customers were not having it. They were like, "We need our weed. You're gonna take our weed away from us. You're gonna give us liquor stores, but you're not gonna give us our cannabis. Like, you can't do
that
that.
doesn't make any
Cannabis is
sense.
a huge
Yeah.
part of Canadian culture. Come on, there's no way." So within 24 hours, we became an essential service. Cannabis did, which is absolutely beautiful. I've been in the industry for 8 years, so I've seen it pre-legalization, to finally being a legitimate product and now being essential. Like, it's amazing how that has all happened in one lifetime.
Absolutely. I feel like it's essential everywhere, whether it's an illegal state, wherever it's at. Everybody's so happy they can still smoke.
Yeah, I would be so upset if it wasn't essential. That's ridiculous. And I'm happy because, May 24 is coming around. The cannabis community, it's a really hot time for us to get our seedlings into the soil. So we're all growing together online, and it's been a nice community shift.
Oh, that's cool shit. So May 24th, you guys get together and like you're gonna guys get in line and like start like busting out seeds.
I think May 24 is kind of like an underground cannabis culture type of thing in terms of like everybody knows 420 is a cannabis culture term. May 24 is when they're like, okay, this is when that growing season is starting. We just know that that number and date that we should be going. So
see, we like real city boys, so we wouldn't know about the growing culture per se. You know what I mean?
Hey, city boys got closets too. What do you mean?
Yeah, I mean closets and rooms and little closets and shit like that is one thing, but the whole like agriculture culture, it's that's definitely not a city boy thing.
Canadian cannabis culture. Yeah, here in Canada, we're all allowed to grow up to 4 plants in our backyard. So in the summer, it smells beautiful over the border.
Of course.
So you need to enlighten us a little bit, Antuanette, because you you have a lot going on. Born and raised in Canada, Peruvian. How did all this tell us a little bit about your background, how you grew up, and how did you end up, becoming this plant becoming such a big part of your life that you decided to make it a career?
Oh man, I decided that this would be a career, I guess, when I noticed how incredibly important it is that this plant has a space at the table. I guess because I come from a healthcare space. My background is holistic nutrition, and when I was going to school for holistic nutrition, I found out about cannabis being one of the best superfoods, of course, and I knew I had to learn more about this, but I knew my professors didn't have much information, and I found out that there was a chronic pain clinic in Toronto that was already working with patients and using cannabis. So I just eagerly asked them, I was like, I'll be an intern here. I really just want to learn so much. And that's when I learned that cannabis has been legal for over 20 years in Canada, which is crazy because some doctors at the time, 8 years ago, doctors had no idea.
Really?
nobody had any idea because the way how the healthcare system, Health Canada, decided to legalize cannabis, it was never a public service announcement because it was specifically for cancer patients and only high severe chronic pain patients.
Okay.
So it was very, very much hush-hush. It was only for the people that really need it. And that program has changed a lot since then. But when they first rolled it out, the only people who were legally able to get prescribed cannabis had to grow their own or had to have a grower and grow it. They didn't have access to products. If they wanted oils or butters, they had to make it in-house. If they, had something even more severe, they would really have to just figure it out themselves on cannabis. So with that kind of model, we grew the compassion model in Canada. And that's when we really had compassion clubs start popping up. And we had all of these clubs that were patient to patient and grower to grower conversations on how they were treating their own ailments. And at that clinic, one of the guys who owned one of those compassion clubs started that clinic. And he's just worked with so many patients, and I knew that I had to be there. And when I was working there, I had people who were, veterans. I had people with Crohn's disease. I had people with all sorts of cancers, rods in their back. And the quality of life aspect is so important to me because you could be, in hospice, you can be living in so much pain. But the fact that if you use a little bit of cannabis oil or smoke a little bit of cannabis, the fact that you can smile after, the fact that you can eat after, the fact that you can have a good time with your family, that quality of life is what that medicine gives you, that a lot of medications won't, unfortunately. So I just have a huge passion for it, and I'm a complete geek because when I was finding out, I was like, you guys are all smoking pot here? Like, what? Tell me more. How is this working? And you guys feel better? No way. I cannot wait to learn more. And I just kept learning and creating different cannabis products. I created edibles and oils and tinctures and lotions just because they're all smoking it. And I was like, there has to be a better way. There has to be, And I remember having a lot of female patients that had endometriosis at the time. And I had no idea that it was such a prominent diagnosis. 1 in 10 women have it. And if you think of that number, 1 in 10 people in the world have cancer. That's a huge population that we're talking about.
Yes.
And they were all suffering from endometriosis for so long. And for those who are listening who may not know what endometriosis is, it's endometrial tissue, which is supposed to be growing inside the uterus, is growing in other areas of the body. So when it comes to your menstrual period, it can be incredibly painful for a lot of them. But even outside of their menstrual, they also have a lot of time having pleasurable sex. And that was a lot to really take in from a person who was so young and vibrant and, loving my sex life, but knowing that there is a huge demographic of women that weren't feeling the same. Or even worse, to the point where they weren't given the option of having children, because if you have endometriosis, majority of the time your doctor will tell you to get a hysterectomy, which is removing the uterus or the vagina or both. And yeah, that's when I got to product making. Years later, we ended up finding women started using our products. Within 6 months, they were able to get pregnant. Within one use of our product, they were able to have pleasurable sex again. And I knew that the more I did research into sexual health and cannabis is like one of the least studied things, one of the least studied plants. And when we talk about sex, sexual health is one of the least studied areas within the human body, specifically women. And that was something that was so triggering to me. And I was like, are you kidding me? We're popping out babies and we can't even study what's going on in there? Like, are you kidding me? And then on top of that, I'm just really here for patients and women because I find that everyone deserves to have pleasure in their life. Everybody deserves to have joy, and everyone deserves to have choices. So we should, have natural alternatives out there. These conversations are so important. I recently launched a podcast called Pleasure Talk. It's a whole podcast talking about cannabis and sex. You will not believe the mind-blowing stories that are coming out of this podcast. my last episode, we interviewed a girl that's having orgasms on cannabis without even touching herself.
What?
And then, yeah, which is amazing with tantra, with breath work, with energy work, which we definitely delve into during our Pleasure Island retreats. But then the episode before that was a woman dealing with fibroids. And fibroids are like a tumor-like thing that grows within the uterus as well, which is very, very common in women of color. A lot of different types of women of color, which is very interesting. But she cured her fibroids with Rick Simpson oil.
Whoa.
Like that's insane. Like she shrunk her tumor by 3 whole pounds before she was able to take out that tumor. And because she shrunk it, she was able to keep her uterus, which means that she's able to keep having children if she chose. But if she didn't use it, she would have had that taken away. So it's like these stories are really what keep me so passionate about staying in the industry, because I'm a huge geek when it comes to like medical applications, and I just want to push forward cannabis when it comes to business development and medical development. And yeah, I do so much. That's for sure.
And then on top of it, you know, because you're a Renaissance woman, I also heard through the grapevine that you're also a filmmaker. Is that correct?
Of course. Yeah, I am a filmmaker. I'm in IATSE, actually. So it's the world's largest union for film technicians. We make all the big budget films. I do it here in Toronto. They have, you know, unions all over the world. But here in Toronto, I've been able to work on a lot of amazing, amazing pieces. I shot the whole movie of Saw 9, which was a black Saw. So it was great to be a part of it.
That's crazy.
Yeah, with Chris Rock and Samuel L. Jackson. So I love film. Film is something that I've been doing basically since high school, because I have some family in film as well. And I love doing it as a hustle, although the cannabis entrepreneurship opportunities are just so much more lucrative to me, which is why I love helping people start up their own cannabis businesses, just because you never know what you're going to come out of it. There's so many unicorns. It's not like there's one unicorn in cannabis. There's so many, you know? So I'm really here to help the future generations, you know, get their minds going and see where their thoughts are on the cannabis industry, because you never know where you're going to find.
No, definitely. I'm not going to lie. It's really impressive, all the things you've done at your age. You know, it's definitely inspiration, especially for people of color, females of color out there, to see that.
Yeah,
you
you
know,
shaking and baking.
Exactly. That, you know.
I'm keeping busy, that's for sure. I can't help myself. You know, I only do what I love. You know, that was something that I was told at a very young age. And I find that you do what you love and you have passion, you never feel like you're working at a day in your life. Like I have personally 3 or 4 startups under my belt, some public, not all public. And, but I don't feel like I'm working, and I absolutely love everything that I do.
So fill us in on how this came about, what you mentioned earlier, the Pleasure Island thing. How does that work, and how did that come about?
Oh, that was an amazing idea when I first thought of it. So I guess that goes back 6 years ago. I was on and off with this guy. You know, when you find a person and things are so good and lovey-dovey, and you're like, yeah, this is my person, you know, like I want this to work. And then, you know, 3 months go in and it's like all wacky, and you're like, why is this working? I love this person so much, you know? So I had this thing where me and this partner really wanted to make things work, but things weren't working. And we were very eager to get to the root of it. And, you know, we were doing couples therapy, and we were doing like partner yoga and everything we're trying to do together. But we found this tantric retreat, and I really wanted to like have like a vacation. So it was kind of our, you know, a cheaper vacation, I guess. We're going on this weekend retreat, and we end up going, and he has no idea what he's getting involved with. I'm like, yeah, like just come, like it's really fun.
You set him up.
He came, and as
We
soon
dumb
as we
anyway.
got
We
there,
just gonna follow.
yeah, you're like, I'm gonna be in like a bikini the whole time. It's gonna be fine. And what happened as soon as we got there, the teacher was like, yes, there's 0 alcohol and 0 drugs allowed throughout the whole retreat. And even me, I was like, oh man.
This doesn't seem like a vacation anymore.
No cannabis,
Yeah.
you're killing me.
And he was so upset. He was furious. He was like, let's go. They didn't see us. Get your bags. Like, let's go. And I was like, no, like, it'll be fun. It's tantra. It's like sexy. We get to like learn better sex stuff or whatever. And he was just like, hey, let's do it. And what we end up finding is that the first day, we're just crying all day. Crying, talking about our feelings and emotions. And I've seen a whole different person. The person that I fell in love with wasn't in there. And I was like, who is this person? This person's amazing. But I felt like I get to fall in love with him all over again in his most raw and vulnerable self. And it was just such a beautiful thing that we got to create together, and so sacred as well. Once you go through a tantric experience with a partner, you're going to really strengthen your bond simply because you're going to be, talking a lot about more trust, a lot about what you're needed sexually as well, what you've gone through, how that's going to interact with your future and yourself and your partner. It's just a beautiful experience. So we got a lot out of it. It was really fun. We had amazing sex, but we just weren't expecting it to go that way. By the
It was
end
a
of
pleasant surprise.
Yes, it was a very pleasant surprise. But by the end of that, he was just like, we need to do this, but we need to do this with weed for sure. And I was like, it would make more sense because I have also used to be a yoga teacher at one of the Ganja yoga studios in Toronto.
Okay.
And they also teach you tantra, because tantra is a part of yoga. And if you read our old yoga Sanskrit, it includes ganja so much in yoga, so much, and including their tantric practices. They literally have been using cannabis as an aphrodisiac and as a place for communion for couples for thousands of years. So I was like, I'm not creating anything new. I'm just bringing it back. I'm showing people that cannabis is an amazing tool to be used in relationships, and it's not one that we should really suppress at all. And, when we smoke cannabis, there's just something about it that just lets us give in to our pleasures. We just give in to the extra bag of chips. We just give in to just testing each other more, even though you're done. Like, you just give in to whatever you really want to do more. You just don't have as big of a stress pulling you back. And it's just something that I absolutely love sharing, but I want to go more deeper into it, of course, by creating that space. So that's why we do so many different things. Like I speak at a lot of conferences and I do a lot of workshops on how to include cannabis into the bedroom. But then I wanted to bring a more therapeutic and a more in-depth experience at our Pleasure Island retreat, which is a week with us in Hawaii. And, cannabis is
That
legal
already
there,
sounds amazing. Hawaii cannabis,
Sex.
everything else is a bonus.
Shit. That shit sound like
Yeah.
an awesome time.
Oh, it's the best time. Like,
How long has it been? How many has it been now?
We've done 2 already, and we're hoping to do them a lot more frequently. So I'm really excited, but we'll see how that goes once the border opens up.
So, give us a little bit of background. You also said you're Latina, so you're born and raised in Canada, Toronto?
Yeah, I'm born and raised in Toronto. Toronto is known as the most multicultural city in the world.
I've heard
We
that.
are a melting pot here. We have absolutely everything here. But you know what I will say? I am a real Torontonian. I am born in Toronto. Everyone that is in Toronto now is like not from Toronto. It's so hard
Transplant.
to find someone in Toronto.
Sounds like Manhattan.
It sounds like Manhattan.
And it's like,
I think
me and
Toronto is
Dizzy-
the New York City of Canada.
Oh, it definitely is 150%, most definitely, because we're East Coasters. We love working. We love being social. We always have a million things going on. It's the place to be. It never sleeps. That's why I love both cities, because they're so similar. But yeah, it's just like, since it's a melting point, my mother came here when she was, I believe, 14, and my dad came here when he was 16, and my mother's Peruvian and my dad's Jamaican and Irish.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so they came
That's
from
a
the
country
islands,
mix.
they came from South America. You got everything here in Toronto, which is why we honestly have the best food. We have all different types of fusions when it comes to the food here. That's what I'm most excited about in our patio season.
We haven't been yet, but we'll look for out for Happy Monkey. We're coming to visit you soon. We haven't been yet, but we'll be coming soon because we have so many friends up there.
Yeah, like I can't wait till you guys are here. I would love to show you around the city. Toronto's a very lucrative hotspot in terms of real estate right now. We just got Amazon and Google here. Disney's opening up another studio, which is exciting for me and being in film. So it's a really exciting time to be in Toronto. We have a lot of, new transplants bringing in a lot of talent too. So I'm really excited to see how this goes.
So we've got another important question for you because our biggest thing here with me and Ramona about is that we try to bridge, like he told you before, it started corporate cannabis and culture cannabis, and we feel like we're the nexus and we help them learn about each other. So my question to you is, because you seem like you straddle the fence like us, what do you think the difference between cannabis culture in Toronto and Canada is to cannabis culture in New York and the U.S.? More. Where do you see the difference in the
Where
culture?
do I see? That's a really good question. Thank you for asking me that. Because honestly, I moved to New York when I was 18. I lived there for a very short time, but I love both cities. The difference when it comes to Canada and the U.S. is simply, unfortunately, I guess policing. That is a huge issue in the States. I find that the culture is so unfortunately suppressed in New York City.
Mhm.
Everyone's very hush-hush about cannabis in New York City, even though there's such a huge population that is a part of that community.
Absolutely.
They do have really good events. They are nice, but they're very intimate. They're very small. Here in Canada, in Toronto specifically, our culture is incredibly loud. Like, we know the culture heads. Maybe because I don't know exactly the culture heads in New York City, but I kind of feel like I do it anyways because I've been a part of so many different huge groups. Like, I was also the director of Canada at Woman Grow, which is amazing when I used to work there.
Yeah, so all the bosses. Stop playing.
So I know,
You being all
I
humble
like
and
to
She's
shit.
in the loop.
Fuck out of here. All the bosses and shit. Stop playing.
But in Toronto, we're so loud. Like, if you're a part of the activism culture in Canada, like, we know you. Like, Mark Emery and Jody Emery were so huge. They were basically like our Bob Marleys of Canada, and they have pushed so much. And they have been around for a long time, and they haven't really like gone far. Our OGs are still heavily in the game. What's really been nice is that, so here in Canada, as we legalize cannabis, we've put in laws, unfortunately, that say if you do have past convictions, you're no longer able to work within the legal framework, which is super unfortunate because we're going to lose so much incredible knowledge from these OGs that have been doing it for so long. It doesn't make sense. Although now at a few LPs, they're starting to allow some of the OG spaces and executive levels at these big world class LPs, which is really exciting. So that crossover between culture and business in cannabis is definitely needed, simply because, as I've seen in cannabis, the new cannabis very much just looks like a new Apple product. It doesn't look like anything different. It's nothing special, right? When we're buying flower in Canada, like, I feel like Canadians don't really care so much about brands. They just care about actual quality, just because we've been, apart, like, smoking pot for so long. So I'm really interested to see how, like, that will play out too.
I also heard, I want to know what that was like, because like I said, you straddle so many fences and are part of so many different industries that you did. You had an interview, an article in Penthouse. How was that?
Yeah.
What?
Oh my God, working with Penthouse was amazing. It was like a dream come true. Once I found out that they wanted to work with me and do a 2-page spread, I was like, hell yeah.
Word. Shit.
I called up like my favorite photographer and I was like, we need to get these amazing shots in. Like, we need to do this. And the interview went really well. So Penthouse magazine, for those who are listening, they are the adult magazines that are sold in stores. And I believe I was their January, February edition of this year, 2020. And it was a whole edition on cannabis, which is amazing for like me to be a part of that, and also within the first 2 pages. So it was a great experience. And I love how I'm really bringing cannabis to the mainstream in a different viewpoint. I'm not just bringing cannabis because, yes, it's great, it helps you, but I'm bringing cannabis because I want people to think about cannabis differently. I wanted them to think about cannabis as a tool in their toolbox rather than, oh, this is a trending product, we need to try it, right? So I try to educate people to be like, oh yeah, this is like anti-inflammation. If you have that issue, you know, use it. And then they can think of that in other areas in their body, you know? So it's really, I try to make it an educational standpoint as much as possible. And just to get people creative on their viewpoints, because the stigma is still there. Regardless of how much we have, you know, dissipated a lot of it, it's still heavily there.
So, what would you say, like, to, you know, because like you are, you know, we always like to show the best example of, you know, how things can be done, and you've broken so many ceilings, and you have 2 things that people think will marginalize them, but you've proved that they haven't, which is being a person of color, minority, and being a female, and being young. So it's just like basically, you know, you raise those ceilings and those borders that people feel like hold them back, and you haven't let them hold you back at all. So what would you say people that, you know, look like you and are you from your age group that feel like they can accomplish all the things that you have?
Most definitely. One thing that I absolutely hate hearing all the time is when I'm like, there needs to be a more inclusive space. So then I get the answer back being like, but you're here.
Right.
But you made it. Like, you know, it's not an issue. But it's just like, I think I worked a lot more harder than you probably had to. And, you know, that's not really a threat at you. It's just in terms of equality that we have in opportunity in the space that needs to change. And yes, me being a very young woman and a woman of color has been such an interesting space to navigate in. Like so crazy to the point where I'm actually writing a book on it. So I work in the sex industry. I have a cannabis sexual health product. And when I was first, you know, getting my products out there, I was very young. I was probably 21. I'm 25 now, 21. And, you know, I was definitely being incredibly hypersexualized by all of these big players that have billions of dollars in their suits. And they're looking at a 21-year-old who is so vulnerable and lucrative as a business opportunity. And it's so easy for, you know, people of color to be hypersexualized, which is a lot that I've had to deal with. I had to deal with so much ageism because of my age. But what I want to say with this is that even though people of color have so many more barriers to entry simply because people of color have way less opportunities in terms of funding, in terms of resources, in terms of team building, X, Y, and Z, it doesn't mean I'm here to discourage anyone listening that they shouldn't be here. Just because you have more work to do doesn't mean that it's not worth it. You know, just because I had to do like basically a campaign 10 times harder to raise my funding or 10 times harder to get the colleagues to really believe in me, the payoff has been absolutely incredible. You know, people think that, oh, they're never going to make it, but you just need to show them your own. And what I love about diversity is that we're going to have diverse thinking. You know, I find that, yes, I'm here in this space and I'm a diverse person, but to be honest, there's still not a person doing anything close to what I'm doing still. You know, I still have my own very niche space. Yes, there's cannabis pussy parties and orgies, you know, and like all of this fun stuff, but I'm definitely that healthcare, that serious, that raising awareness aspect and pleasure deep into it. And I want people to think about their diversity, not only in their color of their skin, but their way of thinking, and to really capitalize on that, because I don't know what you're thinking. Only you know what you're thinking. But you might just be thinking something different that nobody else is seeing. And I see incredible value in that, which is why I created my Green Rush mentorship program. When I was at Woman Grow, I mentored 10 startups, 10 cannabis startups, which I was so proud of, all women. And I love just creating new business opportunities for them. And I'm so busy with work all the time, as you've mentioned, but during this Corona season, I actually just launched a Green Rush mentorship program. So I finally have time to go one-on-one and help people figure out where their business fits within their industry, not where they fit in the industry. I feel like when people want to start or get involved in the cannabis space, they're like, oh yeah, I need to get a dispensary.
Yeah.
I need to get a vape pen, and I'm
they run to that. They run to getting a strain and packaging.
Yeah, right. Or they need to be a grower, or a dealer.
Everybody goes to the cliche things, and there's
But
1,000 different opportunities in this industry.
Exactly, and I don't want to discourage them. Come with me to tell me all of your crazy ideas or all your basic ones, and then I want to show you a lot of lucrative opportunities that aren't being hit right now, and how you can do things differently. I'm known as the loophole queen. This is how you do things. I'm like, okay, cool, but they didn't get that one right there, So, and I love watching drug policy. I've been watching drug policy since Portugal decriminalized all of their drugs. So I am super interested on how we roll out our drugs, how they're being sold, how they're interacting with people, and what that means for our future. Is it going to be sustainable? Is this a scalable business? So I love being able to work with entrepreneurs, young entrepreneurs, and especially diverse people, just because the space isn't diverse at all, especially in Canada. It's way worse than you guys have it, that's for sure. And unfortunately, it seems to get only worse. It's not getting better at all. It's getting less inclusive, just because of all of the mergers and acquisitions.
Yeah, it's not getting any easier over here either.
Yeah, but we can do it together. Just build and that's why I believe that I work so much in New York. I have a lot of heavy players that are interested to get into the cannabis companies. That's where we have all of our big corporate companies that are now wanting to dip their toes into the cannabis industry. So I'm really, really excited to see where that goes, because I absolutely hate it when people say that, Black people don't have money or Latino people don't have money. It's we have money, there's a lot of opportunity in the space, and there's a lot of investors and businesses of those regions that also want to get involved. They just don't have that community. So it's all intertwined, how I kind of vision the community and business is all intertwined. And I think my unique perspective is what is really helpful for a lot of the new entrepreneurs these days.
It's like that old saying, you either see the glass half full or half empty, and it just seems like you have that glass full perspective, and that's the way it's always going to be.
Because I'm always smoking weed.
So, what do you think that, since you're more knowledgeable than us, because we always talk about it, we know it, but we don't know exactly why. I've always felt like we learned, of course, from, our business and events and stuff like that. Cannabis definitely helps people bond together, as far as dating and getting to know each other. And there's sort of an aphrodisiac too. What do you think the proponents are, aside from what you mentioned, that medically, but just in general, just to create that mood, to get people in that mood to be more sexual?
Yeah, for sure. Honestly, some strains are better than others for creating that intimacy between people. I've smoked some strains where I'm frick, I just want to suck whoever's in front of me. It's insane. Super silver hazes do that to me. I feel super silver haze is almost like drunk goggles. I feel I fall in love with whoever is in front of me. It's just you're just such a great person.
I'm taking notes. I'm taking notes here. I'm taking notes here.
Silver Haze, ladies and gentlemen. You already know. She said it. You heard it from her. You know how
One
it's
of my
going down.
favorites. You won't go wrong. Trust me.
Yeah.
That one's a really good one in terms of cultivating intimacy. But the way how the cannabis plant works, like I mentioned, just lets you, you're not thinking about what you're working on, last week or what's due this week. You're not thinking about like your bills or anything. But cannabis is so great when it's applied topically as well. So when we're thinking of an aphrodisiac, cannabis definitely does act as an aphrodisiac in the sense where it creates that atmosphere for pleasure. Although when using cannabis applied topically, it acts as a vasodilator, which I think is the coolest thing. So if anybody wants to know what a vasodilator is, just know what Viagra is. Exactly. So Viagra is a vasodilator. So it dilates the blood vessels. It allows for a lot of blood flow to this particular place in the body. So if you use that cannabis topically on a woman's vulva, you're going to get a lot more blood flow there. A lot more blood flow equals a lot more wetness, which is going to be a lot more pleasurable. And then that's going to hopefully allow her to have more of an access to an orgasm or multiple orgasms. So I love using cannabis topically for sex for partners and creating intimacy. I love that cannabis is just used for so many things, even when it comes to communication with your partner. Sometimes you have really difficult talks that you might not feel comfortable, like, or even, funny talks that might not be comfortable, being like, I want to bring up a new sexual experience with you, but I don't know how they're going to expect it, I don't know what she thinks if I pull that part
lighting
out
up
of the
a joint.
game. So let's have a joint first. See how you feel. Get them comfortable, get to that space. It's just so much better for communication and intimacy and pleasure. And if people are, dealing with pain in sexual health, as many people are, a lot of CBD products can really help mitigate those effects as well. So that's what I love about Pleasure Peaks, is that I didn't want to just come out with a lube product. I really wanted people to understand that your pleasure isn't just physical. It's also mental. Like, sex starts in the brain. It doesn't start with your sex organs, So really using the plant in all of its capacities is really where you're going to have that most hedonistic, tantric, pleasurable experience that I'm super obsessed with.
No, that's it. You got my attention. I already got my notepad here. I'm over here, making sure I know.
We recording all this. Don't worry. We can study this over and over and over and over again. Don't worry about it. Sex and Cannabis 101 from Antuanette, everybody.
Yeah. One thing I hear all the time? People are like, I used weed lube, but it didn't work. And I was like, well, did you give it time to work? When people think of lube, you think of lubrication, right? But if you're already smoking pot, you might already be a little bit lubricated. But, unfortunately, when smoking cannabis, it can create cotton mouth. So for women, it can also create cotton pussy. So that's why lubricants are also good. So keep that in mind. Stay hydrated.
I know that. That's a good one.
And if you're using cannabis lube, apply that 10, 15 minutes before actually having sex, because it needs time to absorb. It's like an edible before the pussy, right? It needs time.
It needs time to marinate.
Yeah, get in there, feel all those tingles and then go at it. And, after you apply it, you can turn it into an edible and eat it if you feel so intrigued.
That's what you're supposed to do.
Right.
So everybody, we on the Happy Monkey Podcast. So since you spoke about all these strains and all these good joints and sex and all this stuff, so can you please tell us your first experience of actually getting high? What turned you on to cannabis?
Yes.
The first time I got high.
Was it a joint?
Walk us through that.
Oh, it was in high school. I have so many better stories, though. Should I tell you that?
so tell us one of those. I'll take that.
I'll tell you guys a funnier story. I'm pretty sure the first time I smoked, I just passed out and slept all day and then ate all night. But I remember I have a good story because when it came to testing different cannabis lubes, that was fun.
I'll
So
take
you
that
were the-
story.
you were the
I'll
guinea
take that
pig?
story.
You were the
I
guinea
was
pig,
the
Antuanette?
guinea pig.
Okay.
I was the
So
guinea
you practice
pig.
what you preach. That's a good thing. That's rare nowadays.
Oh, you got to. And I remember at the time, I just had like this sex partner or whatever. It was nothing serious, but we just loved having great sex. And we were trying different toys or whatever. And he was a doctor too. And he was just like, hey, I have this thing that we got from the hospital, and it helps absorb more quickly. And I think we should use it in your product. And I was like, really interesting. And it's medical grade. And it came in this like a really weird canister. I definitely should not have been tampering with it. But I was just like, let's try it. Because, I'm down for anything at least once. And there you go. We get the lube oil ready, and we put a few drops of whatever this medical grade whatever is. And he ended up putting it on my pussy for the first time. And within like 10, 15 seconds, I was like, yeah, it's hella in there. It's definitely up in there right now.
It's working. It's working.
My pussy felt so high to the point where I was like, I need to sit down, which was the oddest thing ever. For the ladies listening, listen to that again. I said, my pussy felt so high that I had to sit down. Like I
That's
had to
crazy.
bring my pelvic area to the ground. Like I wasn't high. Like I was not intoxicated in any way. Like I could drive them fine, but my pussy was just not having it. She was just like all over the place. It was just like mega baked, and I was just like, I can't even do anything right now, which made me meditate again. I do so many cool things with my pussy. I'm a very liberated pussy person. So in New York City, again, coming back to my favorite city, I go to the Juvenex spa.
I know about the Juvenex spa.
Okay.
Yeah, you know too much out here.
She
I love
moving
how
and shaking.
You know it. I love how you know it, because men are welcome too. Men are welcome on certain days and hours. It's a great place to go with your partner. And
Yes.
amazing. But what I
Yes.
love about that spa is they actually have pussy steaming. They call it yoni
And
steaming.
it's FYI for everybody out there
Pussy
that doesn't
steaming.
know, it's open 24 hours.
Yeah, it is.
Yes, it is.
Yo, David, email Juvenex. Tell them to send us the discount, because my
Yeah.
man is shouting them out all over this podcast right now, man.
It's 24 hours.
We need to do like a Happy Monkey Pleasure Peaks Juvenex like video.
Oh, shit. You don't got to invite us twice to excitement. Don't do that.
Oh, I loved it. And the first time I went there, because I've been there obviously multiple times after, but the first time I tried steaming my yoni, I was like, what's going to happen? Is anything going to happen? And I wasn't on my period, and I sat on this beautiful chair. This chair is like made out of wood, like handcrafted, and it has this hole at the bottom of a chair. And this old woman comes, and she brings me like a hot pot of amazing herbs, and she like sticks it under my chair, and I'm like super excited. And I guess like a few minutes into it, I feel like I'm dripping, and I was like, oh my god, I got my period while I was getting this, because these herbs are so good at detoxifying the uterus that it can actually really bring your period a little bit earlier. But what I thought was even cooler than that is that they give you like cute fruit to like snack on and tea, and like a nice pad of paper to like write your thoughts that happen. And the first thought that came to mind was the guy I lost my virginity to. I don't even remember his name, to be honest. It was so long ago, but that guy I had not thought of since whenever that happened. So it was years later that first time I got my yoni steam, the first thought, energy that was cleansed, because that's what it is. That smoke is very cleansing, right? The whole idea of yoni steaming is to cleanse the womb area, since every time a man and woman have sex in that relationship, a man is leaving a physical piece of him inside of a woman. So how do you really cleanse that area energetically? That's the whole theory behind yoni steaming. And I wrote, I did some journaling on that, which was super cool. And then the second thought was like, my ex-boyfriend, and it was like the weirdest thing ever. But then it like went away. And then the third thought was this overwhelming feeling of energy of love, just pure love, loving energy. And then it was my ex-fiance. So that was really cool how it all
You bring
came
a whole
together.
definition to letting the pussy marinate. Now you got me thinking totally different about that term.
It should be worship. The pussy's worth worshiping. It brings life, It also, there's a lot of wisdom there. If you really tune into it, it can be incredibly healing for so many women if they have, a beautiful sexual relationship with themselves. It's so important, just because, as you know, so much of us women, we've been like shamed and have so much guilt for just even wanting to have sex. Like at a young age, I remember my grandmother showing me the cucumber. Every girl has got a cucumber growing up, and they show you how to put a condom on it. But I remember my grandmother going through all of these old sex books, and she goes to a page of a woman touching herself, and she's like, but you don't do that. Next, So it's like, for so many generations, women have been told, like, don't touch yourself, like, save yourself, like, it's for a man, clean up, be nice and clean. They don't like hair, and it's just like, come on. Like, where's the fun for us, really? How could you know what you want sexually, or even know if it's pleasurable if you've never done it yourself? And many women today still don't self-masturbate. Many women today have yet to have an orgasm well into their life. And there's nothing wrong with that. The only thing I will say is, if you don't have a healthy sex life, you're not going to have a healthy life, period. So that's incredibly crucial and important for an overall well-being. And that's just what I want to share. I want, to share these stories just because I find it so interesting. It's been incredibly healing on my end in so many different areas. So it's worth, doing research on.
And now we know that cannabis only enhances all the magical things you said.
It really does. Every time they're like, tell me a flaw of cannabis. I was like, it's really hard. I literally physically can't do it.
It's time, Antuanette, for the $1 million question. Everybody that comes on the boulevard with me and Ramon, we ask them the $1 million question, and we know you're a little knowledgeable on it, so I'm interested to hear your take on it. So we ask everybody, if you had to describe HappyMunkey, the brand, the place, the movement, whatever you know about it, in one word, what would it be and why?
In one word?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah. It goes down in the boulevard. It goes down.
I'm like going between like Illuminati and like exclusive.
Wow.
What's the thing I like about HappyMunkey is that I've met the brand, but I haven't met you two. I haven't met the real co-founders of it yet. But I've heard so many people being like, yeah, that's my thing. That's my thing. Yeah, that's my thing. I'm like, I don't know. I don't think this is your thing. Like, you work here? All right, can I get another drink? I don't know. But you don't know who really runs it. And, going back to Toronto versus New York, it's such an underground cannabis scene in New York. I love it. I love it, love it, love it. It's so raw because it's so dangerous, at the same time. But it's like, it's exclusive. You need to know someone who knows someone, or like, and not even know someone who knows someone. Because I remember even I was trying to get in. They were like, do you really know her? I'm like, Google me, please. It's so hard to get in there. When I got there, I almost got lost, and I almost didn't even show up because there's so many different elevator shafts and alleyways and all of these twists and turns to get in there and passwords. I'm like, oh my God, is this the right place? Like, are you? So I love how raw and exclusive and underground it is, and I love the brand, and I really like it because I want to keep it that way. I feel like in Canada, all of our vape lounges are open. They're like, come on by. You can see our ads on the news and stuff. Like, it's completely fair game here. But in New York City,
It's an edge to it.
underground type of thing. It's an edge. It's a raw realness and hip hop type of vibe. And I just absolutely love it. It's something that you can only really find in New York, though.
It's
I'm
a
sure you
secret
guys will.
society. All we ask is trust, Antoinette.
That's so perfect way. Secret society, exactly. And yeah, you guys have done a phenomenal job because I've been multiple times. Every time I'm in New York City, I try and snake some time to like check it out for a bit at least, you know?
Yeah, so before we go, can I say this was a like fresher breath air right now, right? Because the last couple of interviews we had a bunch of men. We had like a nice little sausage party. It's been like a sausage party for the whole month.
Yes.
The last time we had women on the show was the month of March. So the whole March we had a special women guest at Cannabis. But right now this is like a fresh, breath of fresh air and like some pussy talk. And we had Cannabis talk. It was good.
And it was like, it was enlightening and empowering because, she's taking, like she said, all these things that, are making her life better, making a business out of it and thriving on it.
And you're taking on two things, baby girl. You're taking on sexual, like, normalizing sexual talk and all these other things and cannabis. So that's a big, 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 like, deal. Like, you're doing your thing, man. You're a boss of all bosses on the low. Stop playing.
Yes. Look for us. We'll be coming soon to the 6th. Don't be surprised. We're full of surprises.
We heard it here.
We do pop-ups. So we want to thank you so much, Antoinette. We know you could be anywhere in the world virtually, but you're here on the boulevard with us. We're honored. And, to know such an amazing young lady that's doing so many amazing things.
Absolutely.
And, don't forget about us, when we see you on the billboards and stuff.
Yeah, when we see you on Forbes or some shit or on the Canada Security Exchange up there, over there exchanging stocks and shit.
I love it. We'll be talking soon. Once those borders are up, I'm sure I'll be in New York soon, and we'll be chatting. I'm excited to meet you guys in person one day.
Absolutely. Always a pleasure. It is a pleasure, and definitely don't be a stranger. Yeah, hit us up another time. I guess we'll bring you back. We'll bring you back to to Happy Monkey Happy Hour with Vlad over here. We got another whole different situation, so we'll probably get you on that.
We got a lot of different segments and a lot of different shows, so we get you on that. And then anything you have going on, as far as like virtually, we're at your service. Whatever you want us to get on, we're here for you.
Beautiful. We got all pockets all lined up.
There you go. So. Tell everybody out there about what should they expect from Pleasure Peaks and Antuanette Gomez for 2020 and all the different outlets where they can stay up to date on all the things that you're doing.
Yeah, honestly, 2020 was planned to be a big year, and we're still expecting it to be a big year, 100%. We are still going to be doing our Pleasure Island retreats in Hawaii, so definitely check out that if you're interested. Find Pleasure Peaks at pleasurepeaks.com. It's very easy to Google, and one of our links will show up, or AntuanetteGomez.com, and it will bring you right there. It's no problem. So when I'm talking about our Pleasure Talks podcast, it's doing incredibly well. I absolutely love the stories that we're producing. The podcast was actually supposed to be a tour. I'm supposed to be on a podcast tour right now in North America. We're hitting up Nevada. We're hitting up California. We're hitting up Colorado and New York City, of course. And we're all going to be talking about cannabis and sexual health. Each city will have a different topic. So Pleasure Peaks is coming to a city near you, and CBD products are coming to the U.S. really soon. So I'm really excited. So if you're interested in that, please just follow us on Instagram and our social media following, and you won't miss it for sure.
Thank you so much for sharing. Be on the lookout, ladies and gentlemen, for Pleasure Peaks, and this young lady's gonna do amazing things in this industry and in many others. As far as everybody else out there in Happy Monkey world, we know it's some tough times, but we're very optimistic on this side. So always remember, Happy Monkey family, you're too blessed to be stressed. Things that get greater later. And checking out from me and Ramon here on the boulevard.
Yes, sir.
Peace, love, and happiness till the next episode, guys.
Absolutely.
Ciao.
What's good, everybody? This is your nigga Ralph, trying to keep you fresh with the info from Happy Monkey every single podcast. You already know what it is. If you haven't followed us yet, follow us on Instagram at HappyMunkey_ or Happy Monkey Goodies. Now remember, that's monkey with a U. Also, if you haven't checked us out, we're on YouTube. So check out our channel, Happy Monkey TV. Keep us current, live, and everything with the culture.